Harry and Meghan chose now for their latest cosplaying sham royal tour. We'll get the verdict from Australia, where the egos have landed, and I have an exclusive announcement coming up about how Uncensored will be covering this momentous existential time for the royal family.
Despicable fake tears at Bondi Beach, using a terrorist atrocity to sell her shitty clothing.
We're watching these two do exactly what they said they didn't want to do. This is why they left the royal family.
Let's start with the moment that froze everything in place. Dead Bondi Beach, Sydney. A place already heavy with pain after 15 innocent people lost their lives in a targeted anti-Semitic mass shooting just months earlier. Families were still grieving, still trying to piece their lives back together, still showing up to mourn. And right in the center of that heartbreak stood Meghan Markle, with cameras locked in and every move captured. Her eyes moved slow, almost too precise, like she knew exactly when the lens was on her.
They're cheapening royalty. Royalty has become very cheap to me. It's become disdain.
Harry and Meghan torched what little was left of their relationship with the royal family and what little was left, frankly, of their own reputation.
Then came that single tear rolling down her perfectly contoured cheek like it had been timed to the second. It didn't sit right with a lot of people watching. Piers Morgan saw that clip and said what many were already thinking out loud. He didn't hold back, saying this didn't feel like real grief. It felt staged, like a scene meant to be watched over and over again.
We see her grifting off a tragedy. She is a disaster tourist. Why is she allowed to do this?
What you have is an extraordinary situation where two people who have caused intense damage to the reputation of the royal family and the institution of the monarchy are now running a kind of renegade rival royal family, engaging in rival tours and going to places like Australia, and that can only be ultimately more damaging for the actual royal family.
Piers has followed the royal family for over 20 years, seen scandals, breakdowns, and real emotion, but he told his panel on Uncensored this was something completely different, something that crossed a line he hadn't seen crossed before. He pointed out how this trip to Australia looked less like support and more like a calculated move, using serious situations as a backdrop. He went even further, calling out what he saw as a pattern, mentioning visits involving very sick children, struggling women, and now even a massacre site being wrapped into what looked like carefully curated public moments. And what made it hit harder was his frustration with King Charles, saying he's just sitting there silent, not stepping in while all this plays out. Piers wasn't just annoyed, he sounded fed up, like enough is enough.
That she was even deciding to go to Bondi Beach and all of a sudden care about an anti-Semitic Islamist terror attack was disgusting anyway, but the fake tears made me ill.
If they want to go and make a ton of money, out of being Harry and Meghan, fine. But to do it under the guise of titles bestowed by the royal family and monarchy, which they have spent years trashing, I think is unacceptable.
He made it clear he wants someone with real authority to step up and say something, do something, take control. And after everything that went down in Australia this past week, that pressure is only getting louder and way harder to ignore. Let's circle back to that Bondi Beach moment, because every second of it deserves a closer look. This wasn't random, not even close. Meghan didn't just appear there by chance. This whole visit felt carefully mapped out from start to finish. Every step looked planned, every angle thought through, every second time just right. That survivor standing nearby? It didn't feel like coincidence. The camera angle catching that exact emotional shot, that didn't look accidental either. This had all the signs of a fully set up scene, organized, staffed, and ready to capture something powerful on cue. And in the middle of it, Meghan stood there showing emotion over a tragedy she had stayed completely silent about.
And if this is something that is allowed to happen, I feel like I don't want anything to do with it, because there is no sense of duty. There is no sense of doing it because you have a connection to the people you are trying to help.
This is what I truly love. They're there because they can't get work anywhere else. Netflix has dumped them. Spotify and Lemonada have dumped Meghan. The coffers have dried up.
When it actually happened, that's the part that really stood out. When 15 people lost their lives at one of the most well-known beaches in the world, there wasn't a public word, not a message, not even a small sign of support at the time. But now, with cameras rolling and attention locked in, everything changed in an instant. And then came the detail that pushed even longtime supporters to start questioning things. The outfit she wore to Bondi Beach during what was supposed to be a serious and respectful moment was already uploaded to her AI-powered shopping platform before she even left the scene. One click, and anyone watching could buy the exact same look she had on during that visit. Think about that for a second. Standing at a place tied to real loss, face to face with survivors, and at the same time...
Well, what I would say is Mr. and Mrs. Grifter Piers have come to Australia and are using us as a cash cow, essentially, because what we have seen over the last 2 days is Meghan and Harry using every opportunity for a photo opportunity here, a PR op here. I mean, they love a microphone and they love a camera, don't they?
The outfit is being promoted online like it's part of a launch. That didn't sit well with a lot of people watching it unfold. Even royal commentator Tom Sykes, known for usually giving balanced takes, didn't hold back this time. He said it straight that this moment looked like a massacre site being turned into something that felt more like a digital storefront than a place of remembrance. He didn't sugarcoat it at all. He called it a revolting dereliction of duty, not even as a royal figure, but just as a basic human response that he felt was completely missing. That kind of wording hit hard, and it showed just how serious the criticism had become. Piers took it even further, zooming in on the smallest details. He pointed to the blinking, saying it gave everything away. Fast, controlled, almost mechanical, like someone trying to force emotion instead of actually feeling it. To him, it didn't look natural. It looked practiced, like effort was going into creating the appearance of sadness rather than it happening on its own. Another commentator broke it down in a blunt way.
If I was to visit Bondi Beach after a terrible tragedy, the last thing I would do is have a faux walkabout. I certainly wouldn't be laughing and smiling, not to mention posing in the clothes I was planning on merching later. And that is exactly what she did.
Calling it Meghan's most technically demanding acting role so far. That's a strong claim, especially when people started linking it to past moments, like her appearance in Uvalde after that tragic school shooting, where she showed up, stood at the memorial, and then left shortly after. When people line these moments up side by side, they start to see a pattern they can't ignore. And that's where the phrase started spreading fast. Disaster tourist! It wasn't just one person saying it either. Piers said it openly on air, and so did Australian panelist Danica Giorgio. When voices from different places all land on the same words without coordinating, it starts to feel less like a random opinion and more like a shared conclusion people are arriving at on their own.
Meghan just turned a massacre site into an online shopping mall. It really shouldn't need saying, but when you are meeting people affected by an anti-Semitic mass shooting, making a quick buck off the event is a revolting dereliction of one's duty. And then he says, not as a royal, as a human.
Then came the other side of the trip, the part tied to money. And that's where things got even more intense. If Bondi Beach raised serious questions on a moral level, the Best Life retreat raised them on a commercial level. Piers could barely hide his reaction when talking about it. Here's what people were reacting to. Meghan Markle, using her Duchess of Sussex title as part of a high-priced wellness experience, charging women in Australia thousands just to attend and be in the same space. It was promoted as something life-changing, something exclusive, something powerful, but the venue itself, the Intercontinental Coogee Beach Hotel, wasn't even fully completed at the time, which only added more confusion and criticism to the situation. There wasn't even a proper ballroom ready. Scaffolding was still up, visible in the background.
They're using Australia as a cash cow. They are grifters. That is why they're here.
We know that's what you did. As that one said, Meghan's most difficult acting part so far, alongside this video, making it abundantly clear that she was faking it.
Making the whole setup feel unfinished and rushed. And despite all the promotion, all the attention, all the headlines, the tickets didn't even sell out. Think about that for a second. In a country with 26 million people at a venue designed to hold just 300 guests, those seats still weren't filled. That alone raised eyebrows because this was supposed to be a major, high-demand appearance. The women who did show up, the ones who paid serious money, in some cases weeks' worth of income, expected something meaningful. What they got was just 122 minutes before Meghan wrapped it up and left. No extended interaction, no long experience. Just a short appearance before she decided to move on to something else. And where did she go? Straight to watch Harry play rugby. That detail didn't sit right with a lot of people, especially those who felt they had invested heavily just to be there. It made the whole event feel secondary.
I mean, look, I can see there's something about them which could have been a great asset to the royal family. No question. I wrote that on the day they got married. People forget this, but the Mail on Sunday wrote a huge piece about how great they could be for the royal family. Then it all went sour. Not going to relitigate all those years of souring.
Like it wasn't the main priority after all. Piers reacted strongly to that, leaning back and looking straight into the camera as he laid it out. This is the same person who landed a massive Netflix deal worth around $100 million, secured a huge Spotify contract, and sat with Oprah in a moment that captured global attention. That level of visibility, that level of influence, and still 300 seats couldn't be filled. That's why he said this isn't just awkward, it's on a completely different level. The drop-off in momentum feels huge. Spotify has already cut ties, Netflix has started creating distance, and even major media outlets have signaled a shift in how they're viewed. Looking at this entire tour, the reaction becomes more intense. For some, it raises a simple question that keeps coming back.
This was an acting job. It was for the cameras. She doesn't give a damn about the victims of Bondi Beach.
What was the original plan supposed to achieve, and how did it end up looking like this instead? You can't have it both ways. That's what people kept saying. It's one path or the other, and trying to balance both started to fall apart fast. The money flow didn't look as strong anymore. Major opportunities in the American market seemed to dry up, and suddenly Australia became the focus, even though Meghan had previously spoken about not enjoying visits there. Piers didn't hold back when breaking that down. He put it in simple terms that hit hard, saying, when the path goes from landing a $100 million streaming deal to struggling to fill just 300 seats in a half-finished hotel ballroom, that's not some clever shift in direction. That's something much more serious, something that raises real questions about what's actually happening behind the scenes. And this is where things took an even more intense turn. The situation started bringing together voices from completely different sides, people who usually don't agree on anything suddenly finding common ground on this, when figures across the political and media spectrum.
This is the scene of the original crime in which Meghan Markle, I believe it was very early on in their marriage, she and Harry went on their Australia tour, their inaugural, and she reportedly said, I cannot believe I'm not getting paid for this.
Start echoing the same concerns, it grabs attention in a different way. One moment that drew particularly strong reactions involved a visit to a children's hospital ward. These were young patients dealing with serious health conditions, undergoing heavy treatment in extremely delicate physical states. According to reports and commentary, the children were brought together into a shared space where Meghan could walk past, greet them, and be filmed during the interaction. That detail sparked concern from some observers. A close associate of William and Catherine shared their thoughts through journalist Richard Eden, explaining it in a very direct way. They warned that young cancer patients can very easily end up functioning as visual props, especially when moments like this are captured and circulated widely. The concern didn't stop there. The same source added that using sensitive situations in ways that appear connected to publicity or revenue could create serious reputational risks, not just for individuals, but for the wider image of the monarchy itself. They stressed that the public expectation has always been that royal engagements come from a place of real duty, not something that feels staged or transactional. That's why this part of the story hit so strongly. It wasn't just about one visit, it fed into a bigger conversation about intent.
Yeah, she doesn't even bother to even give her presence for an extended amount of time. I mean, she's out as quickly as she came, and that is, to me, it tells you everything about who this woman actually is. And so for the people that paid this money, yeah, that is to be expected, because that is the character of Meghan Markle. She doesn't care that you spent this money to see her. She is wanting to earn her money and leave as quickly as she can, because she just does not care.
Responsibility and how these moments are presented to the world, not meant to be turned into some kind of visual backdrop for a money-driven overseas trip. That's the accusation that pushed this whole situation into another level. Piers was clearly furious. You could hear it in his voice and see it in his reaction. His panel went almost completely quiet when the footage started playing, because the images alone were enough to make people uncomfortable without anyone needing to explain it. And then came the detail that made everything hit even harder. The outfit Meghan wore inside that children's hospital ward was reportedly uploaded to her AI shopping platform that very same day. People could go online and buy it while those same children she had just visited were still in their hospital rooms. That timing is what really sparked outrage and debate. It didn't stop there either. Later that same day, she changed outfits for a Veterans Arts event, and that look was also added online shortly after. That pattern is what Piers has been pointing to for years now. His argument has stayed the same the entire time.
What the Spotify executive called them, a pair of effing grifters. If they want to go and make a ton of money, out of being Harry and Meghan, fine. But to do it under the guise of titles bestowed by the royal family and monarchy, which they have spent years trashing, I think is unacceptable.
Watching this tour, I'd be furious, because I would think, how can you, this was the whole point of the Sandringham Summit. You can't have your cake and eat it, it's one or the other.
He says the issue isn't that Meghan and Harry stepped away from royal duties. The issue, in his view, is that they stepped away but kept the key elements that gave them global influence: the titles, the recognition, and the connection to the crown. And according to that criticism, those elements are still being used in ways that look more commercial than traditional. For critics, that hospital visit became the clearest example of that concern. They argue it didn't come across as pure charity or simple support, but something that felt tied to content and visibility. And that's why this moment keeps getting brought up again and again, because for some people watching, it seemed to capture exactly where things stand right now in a single, uncomfortable snapshot. This is where things started to look even more surprising. A woman who once secured a massive Netflix deal was now reportedly reaching out, asking to appear on Australian MasterChef without any payment at all. No fee, no contract payout, nothing on the financial side. That alone raised eyebrows, but it didn't stop there. Even without asking for money, she still came in with a list of production demands that reportedly left the show's team caught off guard. One of the biggest requests,
Selling the clothes off her own back at the site of a massacre where 15 people died, might come easily to Meghan, but like any right-minded person, I find this sickening. Well done, Tom Sykes, so do I.
turning off the comment section completely. That's not a small ask, especially for a show that thrives on audience interaction and public response. According to the reports being discussed, MasterChef declined that request, and that's when things took another turn. Claims started circulating that accounts with no real history, No posts, barely any followers, and very recent signups began appearing in the comment sections. These profiles with names like Root for Good were posting waves of over-the-top praise that didn't feel natural to regular viewers. People watching picked up on it quickly. Screenshots started spreading within hours, not even out of outrage at first, but because the situation looked so obvious that it became almost unbelievable to watch unfold. Piers pointed to this as one of the most telling parts of the entire Australia trip. His takeaway was simple but sharp. No payment offered, no official invite, yet the approach was still made and the expectations still came in strong.
That is something that people need protected against. I think there needs to be something done about Meghan and this whole title that she is using, that she is trying to make money off of. I mean, that is something that needs to be done about it. There needs to be protections for the people who are taken advantage of.
He framed it as someone stepping into a space where public interest might not be that high, on a show where similar opportunities in the U.S. might not even be on the table, yet acting like the appearance itself was a huge benefit to the program. And that contrast is what kept people talking. Now here's where things take another sharp turn. Reports from sources said to be well placed inside Buckingham Palace claim that King Charles hasn't even had a single discussion about removing Harry and Meghan's titles. Not one conversation, despite everything that's been happening and everything that came out of that Australia trip. People are pointing to all of it. The hospital visit, the Bondi Beach moment, the online merchandise concerns, the public backlash, even the reported booze. Critics argue that all of this seems to go directly against what was agreed during the Sandringham summit, and they see it as a breakdown of the structure that had been carefully built over decades. The official stance from the palace, at least according to these reports, is to stay steady, absorb the criticism, and keep moving forward without making dramatic changes. But Piers isn't accepting that approach at all. He pushed back hard and brought up a comparison that's been getting a lot of attention. He pointed to Prince Andrew. Andrew lost his titles and royal roles without a criminal conviction after major controversy surrounding his associations and public response. That situation was widely criticized and seen as serious enough to justify strong action. But here's where Piers draws the contrast. He argues that Andrew never publicly accused the royal family of racism on a global stage, never released a detailed book breaking down internal conflicts, and never faced claims tied to moments like the ones being discussed now. That comparison is what's fueling the current debate. Piers keeps coming back.
The funniest part about this is, they say that they're just coming here as two private citizens. Well, in the last couple of hours, Meghan has been announced, would you believe, as a guest judge on the Australian version of MasterChef, as in the cooking show.
To one central question, and he's demanding a clear answer from those in power. If action was taken in one case under those circumstances, why does it feel like nothing is happening in this one, even with all the noise and controversy surrounding it? And now everything comes down to the question that nobody in power seems ready to answer. If all of this continues without any response, what message does that actually send to the public watching it unfold in real time? Because from the outside looking in, people are connecting the dots fast. They're seeing controversy stack on top of controversy, moment after moment, headline after headline, and still no clear line being drawn. That silence is starting to feel louder than anything being said. Piers made it clear this isn't just about one trip or one appearance. He framed it as something bigger, something that touches the credibility of the entire institution. If boundaries exist, then people expect to see them enforced. If agreements were made, then people expect to see them respected. And when that doesn't happen, frustration builds quickly, not just from commentators or media figures, but from everyday people trying to understand where the line actually is. Because right now, to many watching, it doesn't look like there is one. The longer this goes on, the more the pressure grows. Questions keep piling up and they're not going away. If anything, they're getting sharper, more direct, and harder to ignore. So now the focus shifts back to the palace once again, not just on what they say, but on what they choose to do next, because at this point, action or silence will speak louder than any statement ever could. If the institution was able to take that level of action against Andrew, then what's stopping the exact same move from happening here? That's the question getting louder by the day, and it's not going away anytime soon.
I've always made it clear that Andrew's offences to me are far more egregious than anything that Harry and Meghan have done. I've never said anything different, and I wouldn't say that now. I think the way he lied about his relationship with Epstein, the damage he's done, his refusal to give evidence under oath, it's all on a different level. However, the commonality of it is where you, through any of your actions, dishonour and disrespect the reputation of the institution of the monarchy or the royal family, then actually there is now an established mechanism with the Andrew situation to remove their titles. And a lot of British people in the polls don't agree with you, they agree with me.
Because now the timing makes everything feel even more intense. King Charles is heading toward a major state visit to the United States. With an address to Congress and a high-profile stop in New York, this isn't just another trip. It's being described by top royal commentators as a defining moment for the monarchy's global image. And yet, all of this is unfolding with the fallout from Australia still fresh, still circulating, still playing on repeat across screens everywhere. Every headline, every clip, every debate, it's all following right behind him into one of the most important moments of his reign. Piers, as always on this topic, didn't just bring anger, even though it was clearly there. He brought the same question he's been asking again and again, the one he says the palace keeps avoiding. At what point does the ongoing damage become too much to ignore? Where is that line where the impact on the monarchy outweighs a father's hesitation to act against his own son? That's the core of it. And it's a difficult question, but it's one people keep asking. Because when you stack everything from this past week alone, the emotional moments that raised eyebrows, the hospital visit concerns, the retreat that didn't meet expectations, the crowd reactions, the social media activity, and the constant overlap with promotion, it paints a picture that critics say can't be dismissed anymore. For them, that line hasn't just been approached, it's already been crossed, and it happened a while ago. Now it's your turn to weigh in. Drop your thoughts in the comments, share this with others who are following the story, and don't forget to like and subscribe so you don't miss what comes next.